if Jim King would have used medical marijuana, he would still be alive today. That would be the man who is, I don't know, was the chair or something in the Louisville City Council, had died of blood cancer. And marijuana has shown to cure cancer in mice. And so this was a study 30 years ago. So, anyways, he would have been cured. He would have been okay. He'd still be alive today. If we truly cared about people who die of cancer, he would be alive today. I'm going to talk about three quick things. The Green Bay Packers, they are a public traded football team. The NFL says that none of the baseball stadiums, they have to run as non-profits. They're very profitable, which is actually ironic. But the Packers are the only non-profit community-owned Major League professional sports team in the United States. They are owned by stockholders, and the stockholders actually have no real say-so in what they do. But because they own a part of the team, they care more about the team. And so I think Kentucky needs their own, Kentucky Pioneers or the Kentucky. I like the Rebels. I think you should be like, I don't know, just take it back, right? Rebels are supposed to be like the Confederates, but it's to rebel against authority. So take it back. Nothing wrong with Rebels. Indian Packing Company, that's what the Green Bay Packers are named after. It was a packing company, so they just packed stuff. And when they started the Green Bay Packers, the guy gave them some money for uniforms and just asked that the team be named after him. And so, the Indian Packing Company, what a marketing scheme. Their marketing lasted for, longer years than what they themselves actually lasted for. The number of major sports teams by states. So, Kentucky Rebels has zero teams. It says that it had a team. But, Texas got 10 teams. California got 18. Florida got 9. Ohio, 7, 6, 8, 9, 5, 5. Look at all these states have, like, way too many major sports teams. In Kentucky, we got, college basketball, U of L, UK, producing, churning out all these incredible talented athletes. The Muhammad Ali, the greatest. And, but they have no place to stay here and work. And so that's we would make money. It would be more interesting. People would be more interested in politics. We should have our own team. And if the NFL only allows non-profit, I don't know. I mean, if the state fucking owned the thing, would they allow, would the NFL allow them to come in? You'd have to talk to the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball. You'd have to talk to all three of them and see which one of them would be willing to have a professional sports team in Kentucky. You could also have the head coach or the the manager, general manager, to be voted on by the voters. I think that would be incredible. People don't give a fuck about the governors, but if you're to talk about their head coach, especially of a major basketball team, if they could get on the NBA and retain that talent, it would be amazing. That'd be incredible. You would make a ton of money, and you would inspire civic participation. So that's this is Kentucky economics. This is I'm gonna mention the Danes, the Denmark, and then I'm gonna talk about the guaranteed income. Why do we not have a guaranteed income? This is Martin Luther King said that it would have been the best fucking idea. The Swiss are doing it. Everybody gets about $10,000. It guarantees that you won't live in poverty while also giving middle class people some supplemental income. There's nothing bad about it. It spurs economic development. It's a stimulus. It's a Keynesian type idea economics. And so therefore, by actually giving people, instead of just bare essentials here and there and making them go through all these different programs and shit, give them a basic income. Once they got a basic income, you can't bitch about nothing. You're guaranteed to live. Now, since you're allowed to live, now let's see you become human. Let's see you become a fucking person. Denmark, I found out, owns Greenland, which is incredible. So Denmark is it's smaller in, it's the country itself, just the Denmark country, is actually smaller than Kentucky, but the fact that they own Greenland, I don't know if they get much resources out of Greenland, but it helps. Now, the Danes enjoy a high standard of living, and the country ranks highly in numerous comparisons of national performance, including education, healthcare, protection of civil liberties, democratic governance, prosperity, and human development. So the Denmark is kicking ass. High standard of living, education, healthcare, protection of civil liberties. They got freedom, democratic governance. So they actually have democracy there, prosperity, and human development. So they're making money and they're doing well, for each other. They rank the happiest country in cross-national studies of happiness. The country ranks as having the world's highest social mobility, a high level of income equality, and one of the world's highest per capita incomes. And is one of the world's highest personal income tax rates. A large majority of Danes are members of the national church through the Constitution, though the Constitution guarantees freedom of religion. So Denmark is kicking ass. We can learn more from, I don't know if they're the Dutch or not, but I think they're close enough to the Dutch, right? The last thing I want to talk about is the guaranteed income, okay? So the guaranteed basic income, this is what the Swiss are doing, and it's what we should do here. So robots are poised to eliminate millions of jobs over the coming decades. We have to address the coming epidemic of technological unemployment if we're to avoid crippling levels of poverty and societal collapse. Here's how a guaranteed basic income will help and why it's absolutely inevitable. The idea of a guaranteed basic income, also referred to as an unconditional universal basic income, is starting to gain traction. Simple idea. Everybody in societies receives a single basic income to provide for a comfortable living, whether they choose to work or not. Importantly, it's only intended to be enough for a person to survive on. The money for this social welfare scheme could come from the government or some other public institution, in addition to funds or income received from other sources. It can be taxable, non-taxable, divvying up on a continual basis, monthly or annually. Advocates argue that a basic income is essential to a comprehensive strategy for reducing poverty because it offers extra income with no strings attached. But looking ahead to the future, we may have little choice but to implement it. Given the ever-increasing concentration of wealth and the frightening prospect of technological unemployment, it will be required to prevent complete social and economic collapse. It's not a question of if, but how soon. And this is even guaranteed by, conservatives. Conservatives are even talking about it. A negative income tax. So that's actually what Milton Friedman was talking about. Everybody's talking about it. I mean, as a concept, the basic income guarantee, BIG, has been bantered around the world for quite some time. As early as 1795, American revolutionary Thomas Paine called for a citizen's dividend to all U.S. citizens for loss of his or her natural inheritance by the introduction of the system of landed property. Even Napoleon Bonaparte agreed that man is entitled by birthright to a share of the earth's produce sufficient to fill the needs of his existence. So you got Thomas Paine, Napoleon Bonaparte, Martin Luther King. I am now convinced that the simplest approach will prove to be the most effective. The solution to poverty is to abolish it directly by a now widely discussed measure, the guaranteed income. The idea has been supported by esteemed economists Frederick Hayek and Milton Friedman, the latter of whom advocated for a minimum guaranteed income via a negative income tax. A number of countries are currently considering or even implementing various basic income schemes such as Brazil, Switzerland, Canada, and Germany. Even conservatives are on board, as noted by Noah Gordon in The Atlantic. Creating a wage floor would be an effective way to fight poverty and to reduce government spending and intrusion. You want government to save some money and you want to stop the intrusions? Have a wage floor. Do a guaranteed income. Everybody's in agreement with it. Even fucking MLK. Whenever MLK and Milton Friedman fucking agree on something, do it. Do it. This is a great fucking article. Great fucking article by George Dvorsky, How Universal Basic Income Will Save Us from the Robot Uprising. So there's fewer and fewer jobs. He goes on and explains more stats and statistics. You should read the whole thing. Or don't. I don't know. Just support the fucking idea. There's a million good fucking reasons about why it would kick ass. I have this other article that's marked up here. Creating a wage floor is an effective way to fight poverty, and it would reduce government spending and intrusion. Noah Gordon, guaranteed basic income. I mean, seriously, Milton Friedman and MLK. They both agree on it. That's the fucking right and the left. That's, I mean, I don't know if you can get more radical right or more radical left in America. I'm sure you could. But in respectable scholarship, MLK and, you know, I Have a Dream, MLK, social democracy, and then Milton Friedman, basically the anarchist, the very slim government, just make sure corporations are playing fairly amongst each other. They both say, you know, in a negative income tax, a guaranteed income, just like they're doing in Switzerland. They're talking about in Germany and Canada. I think, what was Australia or something? So David Frum argued that conservative welfare reformers need to focus on simplification. As a young crop of conservative policymakers announce a range of proposals, there's some movement in that direction. Florida Senator Marco Rubio's plan would move most of America's existing welfare funding into a single flex fund to be distributed to the states. Wisconsin Representative Paul Ryan, partly inspired by the universal credit reforms of Britain's conservative government, proposes allowing states to combine different forms of federal anti-poverty funding, food stamps, housing assistance, and more into a single funding stream. In a recent speech about fighting poverty, Utah Senator Mike Lee told the Heritage Foundation there's no reason the federal government should maintain 79 different means-tested programs. Meanwhile, the intellectual wing of reform conservatism likes these plans because they reduce government and offer citizens more control. Yuval Levin, one of the authors of the Reform Conservatism Manifesto Room to Grow, has praised Ryan's plans, saying it would give people more resources and authority and greater freedom to find new and more effective ways up from poverty. Liberty wonks, on the other hand, have claimed it's actually a paternalistic program at odds with the traditional Republican desire for less intrusive government, since it relies on providers who make decisions for beneficiaries. In any case, these ideas are circumscribed by traditional boundaries. Neither is a truly radical small government idea alternative. But one idea that Frum highlighted is more radical: guaranteed basic income, otherwise known as just giving people money. The idea isn't new. As Frum notes, Frederick Hayek endorsed it in 1962. The libertarian economist Milton Friedman advocated minimum guaranteed income being a negative income tax. In 1967, MLK said the solution to poverty is to abolish it directly by a now widely discussed measure, the guaranteed income. Richard Nixon unsuccessfully tried to pass a version of Friedman's plan a few years later, and his Democratic opponent in the 1972 presidential election, George McGovern, also suggested a guaranteed annual income. So guaranteed income, it seems like it's on its way. I mean, everybody, Nixon and McGovern, MLK and Friedman, how the fuck have we not done this shit yet? You know, more recently in a 2006 book, conservative intellectual Charles Murray proposed eliminating all welfare transfer programs, including Social Security and Medicare, substituting an annual $10,000 cash grant to everyone 21 years and older. The Alaska Permanent Fund, funded by investments from state oil revenues, sends annual dividend checks to the state's residents. Switzerland is voting on unconditional basic income later this year. The Alaska Permanent Fund, I mean, annual dividend checks to the residents. Here's a bunch of money so we could steal your fucking oil. As soon as Homer, you know, moved to Alaska in the big Simpson movie, right? They just give him a check. Hey, here's a check. Enjoy your life. Switzerland, the fundamental basic income guarantee involves an unconditional grant to every citizen, no matter their wealth or age. Other versions wouldn't cut checks to those in the top brackets or those receiving Social Security. Apart from lifting millions out of poverty, the plans promote efficiency and a shrinking of the federal bureaucracy. No more 79 means-tested programs. Creating a single point of access would also make many recipients' lives easier. If they knew they had something to fall back on, workers could negotiate better wages and conditions, or go back to school, or quit a low-paying job to care for a child or aging relative. With an unconditional basic income, workers wouldn't have to worry about how making more money might lead to the loss of crucial benefits. In the Financial Times, Martin Wolf had contemplated a guaranteed income's ability to help society adjust to the disappearance of low-skill, low-wage jobs. Is it feasible? In 2012, there are 179 million Americans between the ages of 21 and 65. Poverty line is $12,000, thus giving each working age American a basic income equal to the poverty line would cost $2.14 trillion. Do it! Do it! What the fuck? We got 14 trillions. Japan runs a deficit 3 times bigger than their GDP, and we only have 1 to 1. We have a deficit that's $14 trillion as long, and as long as we make $14 trillion of stuff per year, then we will have enough money in 3 years, to pay off a deficit 3 times that size. Now, I know running a deficit, you want to get it paid off and get it, accomplished as soon as possible. That's what Bush did for the war. That's what Bush did for the Bush tax cuts for the ultra wealthy. They can use fucking government socialism to make sure they fucking rich and shit. So I love this idea. This idea is exactly, you should be guaranteed a right to live. You should not die on our streets. Maslow's hierarchy says you're guaranteed, there's human needs. There's a hierarchy of human needs, and the very bottom rung is food, water, clothing, shelter, the basic necessities of life. And so this is some of the most important shit ever. Cutting off federal and state benefits for low-income Americans would save around $1 trillion per year, so there would still be a significant gap to be closed by revenue increases like higher taxes or closing existing loopholes. That doesn't seem likely, to say the least, in the current political environment. Alternatively, a guaranteed income could be means tested or just offered at a lower level. So guaranteed basic income, just a good-ass fucking idea. It guarantees your right to live, and then capitalism if you want to do more than just what you've been given. So I'm going to end this off on the top 10 countries with the highest minimum wage. And this is a 2013 article. Switzerland, the poverty level, $12,000 per individual is the poverty level in America. But in Switzerland, because every person is at least guaranteed $15,000 if they got a job, there's, this is their minimum wage. This is, so the poorest person in Switzerland isn't considered poor in America. San Marino, $15,000 with their big ass castle. Their San Marino big ass castle. It's actually pretty fucking impressive. They made that shit in the medieval times. Probably took a lot of slave labor to fucking get that shit constructed. And then being on top of a mountain, a city on a hill. Talk about being a city on the hill. San Marino. I don't even know where San Marino is. It's in Europe. But castles, man. Castles a big fucking deal back then. New Zealand, $16,000 in New Zealand. Everybody's doing okay. Canada, $16,000. France, $17,000 minimum wage. If you work in France, you're gonna live, even if you sweep fucking streets. United Kingdom, $18,000. $18,000 in the United Kingdom. So the UK, if you live in the UK and you got a regular job. Belgium, goddamn, the fucking Dutch are kicking ass. Look at this beautiful fucking building and architecture. And look, they got some sort of castle up on a fucking hill too. Some sort of fortified fucking castle. Belgium, almost 19,000 per year. Ireland, 19,000 per year. The fucking dirt poor Irish who is being used as fucking slaves and shit, making at least 19,000. You live in Ireland, you make $19,000. Ireland has actually got a higher standard of living than the United Kingdom. Scotland, why did Scotland not get out of the fucking UK? Ireland should definitely get out. I mean, they already are, but like they should get Northern Ireland back. Get their fucking, that's their island. UK has been a fucking imperializing fucking asshole. Get some dignity. Luxembourg, 19,000. Luxembourg, the tiniest fucking nation, the highest GDP per capita. Luxembourg, tiniest little dot on a map, right below Belgium. So the Dutch, this is right around the Dutch. They still got kings and queens there too. Check us out. Luxembourg. It's a smallest sovereign nation. One of the smallest sovereign nations in Europe. Officially the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. The Grand Duchy. Meaning that it's royalty, kings and queens. So as a representative democracy with a constitutional monarch, it is headed by a Grand Duke and is the world's only remaining Grand Duchy. So the Duke of Luxembourg. Who is the Duke of Luxembourg? Let's find this guy. The monarch is Henry. And then Xavier Bettel is the prime minister. So they got a head of state and then they got a head of government. They got the face of government, like the queen. There's the face of the government. There's the face right there. Henry, Grand Duke of Luxembourg. Xavier Bettel. So we're just gonna, it's a predominantly Roman Catholic. Let's see if we can read some other German official languages. All right. Xavier Bettel, Luxembourgish politician and lawyer who serves as Prime Minister of Luxembourg since December 4, 2013, after succeeding Jean-Claude Juncker in that position. So he's the Prime Minister, right? In the government's coalition, the Luxembourg Socialist Workers' Party and the Greens. Look at this. They have a great fucking discussion that's being, held in Luxembourg, but we can't even get a fucking conversation here. They have the socialist workers and the Greens are unifying. The socialist workers and the Greens, and they've created incredible fucking, democratic society, which is creating high amounts of GDP. So Grand Duke Henry as the formateur for the next governor. So, good for him, right? So the Grand Duke of Luxembourg, here he is. Here's the monarch. Got a face for... He's the eldest son of the Grand Duke Jean and Princess Josephine Charlotte of Belgium, and a first cousin of the current king of the Belgians, Philippe. So Philippe, they got the Belgians have a king too. So he's the Grand Duke, but he talks about... Okay, the Grand Duke is the highest. He's a duchy, right? And then a princess. There's a princess. So you still got princes and princesses. The Duke of Luxembourg, the Grand Duke, Henry, the Grand Duke of Luxembourg. Philippe of Belgium is a king. The king of the Belgians ascended to the throne in July 2013, the eldest child of King Albert II, whom he succeeded upon Albert's abdication for health reasons, and Queen Paola. He married Countess Mathilde de Udekem de Acaz, with whom he has 4 children. King Philippe's eldest daughter, Princess Elizabeth, is the next line in this succession. So Belgium's got a fucking king. Luxembourg's got a duke. And they got a high-ass fucking minimum wage. They are taking care of their citizens. Luxembourg is taking care of their citizens. Luxembourg has a relatively simple wage structure that effectively took effect on October 1st, 2011. The minimum wage takes into consideration a person's experience, age, and maturity. The minimum wage for those 18-year-olds and above is C180. I don't know. It says... nearly $20,000 is their minimum wage. $20,000. The Netherlands, the happiest country in the world, of course, has the highest fucking minimum wage. The latest minimum wage structure followed by the Netherlands took into effect last January 1st, 2012. And again, that C fucking word, it's not a pound. What the fuck is a C? Is that a euro? 66 euros. So the Netherlands, the Dutch were the ones that tried to fucking colonize America. In the beginning, the Dutch were merchants. They had the Hanseatic League. This would be the Platzdush. They had spoke that lower level German. Munster, Germany, they had that big treaty after the 80 Years' War because they couldn't fucking conquer the Netherlands. Proud people. They've had, been doing shit the way they've been. They're the ones that discovered New York. The Dutch had a fucking colony on New York. But eventually the English just killed the Dutch, and then they took their, they said, fine, y'all can have these colonies, but we're keeping Suriname in South America. So what happened to the Monroe Doctrine, right? You have the French Guyana, and then you got Suriname, which is the Dutch. How come they got, they got colonies there? In France, doesn't France have nuclear weapons? So France has nuclear weapons and they got colonies on our fucking hemisphere. We ain't worried about them fucking launching nuclear warheads, or are they always America's allies? We're fucking friends. We're buddies. So the Monroe Doctrine, some European powers got over to America, even the Falkland War, right? United Kingdom came to fucking Argentina and declared war and kept the Falkland Islands. Yay, go Great Britain, keeping the Falkland Islands. And you know what? They got to keep whatever little bit of shit that they got a hold of, right? They basically were the empire that the sun never sets upon is now just sort of, I don't know. They got Canada, right? On Canadian currencies, he's got the fucking Queen. I think Australia too. So there still is a United Kingdom, a fucking empire, right? And because of Ireland, man, Ireland, if you all became a fucking country, the world system would absolutely change for the better. So keep kicking ass, Netherlands. You're the happiest country in the world. You do very well. You got free healthcare, free university, free childcare, $20 minimum wage, a 33-hour work week. The Dutch are kicking ass. Those are the biggest things that I know about the Dutch. But the things that we had learned about was that, not only do they have guaranteed income and lots of social programs for everybody, but they have parental support, right, with the child care, but also medical and family leave, including 2 weeks for the father, 18 weeks for the mother, gender equality. They actually care about feminism and equality and health care. That's been guaranteed by most nations, industrialized nations all over the world. Biking, there's lots of biking, and that saves energy, and it saves wear and tear on the roads. Positive spin, that's always cold and dreary, but they always try to perk people up, and they're responsible to one another. They love each other. So they got love, they got positivity, the struggle, hope, not even hope. Hope is a beggar. That's what Jim Carrey says. He says faith. Faith is better than hope, because faith is things are going to be okay. Hope is gotta hope it fucking works out. But faith is what Jim Carrey's talking about. Biking, more exercise, less, of a carbon footprint, less gas, less, car accidents and shit, less infrastructure, less damage on the roads. Healthcare, gender equality, and parental support. Kick ass, Netherlands. Kentucky, we need to do just what the Netherlands are doing. Let's get a guaranteed income. $20 minimum wage, free college, free healthcare. They build roads, all the projects, all these road projects and shit, and not just build schools, just be building them. Let's actually start educating people. 33-hour work week and treating people right, In Luxembourg, in a fucking monarchy, they got social democrats and greens. Social democrats. That's the conversation I would rather have. What do social democrats and Green Party, what do they come up with? And they came up with a brilliant, beautiful fucking society. And the only thing that'll crush the Netherlands is America's exceptionalism and their belief in the casino-style gaming, neoliberalism, the Washington consensus. Basically, if you have elections and you can be as capitalistic as fuck, they call them actually liberal democracies. Capitalist democracies are liberal democracies, which is very conservative. I think the conservative idea is just let the rich people do whatever the fuck they want to do. But clearly that just doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. Animal farm, if the fucking farmers could do as the fuck as they please, but sometimes they don't feed the animals. Sometimes they get drunk and they don't treat the animals well and shit. And just through the animals' own fucking will to survive and live is pretty much what keeps them going. And then it makes, the farmer can profit off of it, but the animals could work their own farm. But eventually the pigs take over and they sell Boxer to the fucking glue factory. Boxer, the one who worked so hard. And they just disposed of his body like it didn't even fucking matter.